Welcome to the Transform My Dance Studio podcast, the only podcast for dance studio owners, where each week we bring you business growth strategies to help you increase your profits, impact the lives of more students, while ensuring you get back some time to have a little life outside of the studio. It's time for you to become the go-to studio in your area. Now, here's your host, founder of the Dance Studio Owners Association, Clint Salter.
Hey there, it's Clint, and before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to let you know about a month-long studio growth training that we're running called January Jumpstart, where for the whole month of January, we're giving you video trainings, online webinars, guides, worksheets, templates, you name it, to get you set up to have success in your studio for 2017. Now, it's free to join. All you need to do is text the number 44222 with the word Jumpstart 17. So that's 44222 and the word Jumpstart 17. Now, if you're in the UK, Australia, or New Zealand, you can go to the website dancestudiowners.association.com/jumpstart, and you'll get access straight away to our group and access to all the trainings that we're going to be running during January to help you build your dance studio. Now let's get on with the episode. Hey there, dance studio owners. It's Clint here, and welcome to another episode of the Transform My Dance Studio podcast. It's my pleasure to introduce you to today's guest, Angela Counsel. Now, Angela is a naturopath, lifestyle consultant and speaker who specializes in helping working mums, guys, that is a lot of you, particularly self-employed ones, to find balance, there's a new word for us, in their busy lives. She's worked with hundreds of working women over the past decade and provides them with simple tools to help them find that balance that we all want in your lives. She also teaches effective stress management techniques. She's really perfect for today's guest. And when Mel and I were discussing guests and Angela came up, I was like, we need Angela on our podcast because, like I said, she's about overcoming stress. And I know in your studio, it can get really, really stressful. So she's got some tricks and some tips that she's going to share with us today so that you can really maximize your performance during the day and get more out of your life. So Angela, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm super pumped for this conversation.
Thanks for having me, Clint. I'm excited too.
Awesome. So, Angela, tell us a little bit more. If I've missed anything out in that intro, tell us a bit about what you do today in your business to help these business owners take better care of themselves.
Probably the biggest thing I do is I teach people about what stress really is, because most people don't understand what stress is. They just think it's the emotional stress, but stress is actually physical and it changes the way our body functions when we are stressed. So when I can get women to understand how their body is being impacted by stress, I think that is the first step to actually changing that, because we have things like your immune system gets lowered, your reproductive system shuts down, your blood sugar goes up, your heart rate goes up. All of these different things happen when you're stressed, and they're all natural, and we actually do need stress in our life because it keeps us alive, because without it we'd die. But it's the type of stress, the amount of stress that's actually impacting our health and our ability to perform. And as business owners, we kind of need to be running on their top game all the time. And when we're stressed all the time and then we get sick, we can't do that. And I know for dance studio owners and dance teachers, this is a big thing for them, because my background, when I was a kid, I did ballet till I was about 17. My daughter does ballet. So I know what it's like. I've kind of grown up around the dance studio, and I see the way a lot of dance teachers kind of wear themselves out.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, completely. So talk to us about stress. Like, Angela, what actually is stress and how is it caused?
Okay, so stress, as I said, it's actually a physiological response in our body. So we've got a part of our brain which we call the primitive brain. Now, it's the oldest part of our brain, and most people have heard of the term fight and flight. And this is really what happens is when our body gets stressed, whether or not it's a physical, emotional, or spiritual stress, our body will go into fight and flight. And what it does with that is basically that part of the brain, the primitive part of the brain, is telling your body that your life is under threat, and you either have to run for your life or you have to stand up and fight for your life. So everything changes in the body. The heart beats harder as it tries to push the blood out to the arms and legs, so you get jittery and you kind of want to move. Your muscles drop all the blood glucose into your blood, so your blood sugar goes up. Your digestive system shuts down because you don't want to be digesting food while you're trying to run away from this threat. Your reproductive system as well shuts down because you don't want to be having babies right at this moment. You've got to stay alive. Your immune system goes on hyper alert, and it actually lowers, even though it's on alert. It lowers because you don't need to be fighting viruses. So all of these are great in the immediate, but in the long term, that actually really starts to impact your health. And the things that cause stress, look, lots of things cause stress. Not eating properly causes stress. The toxins in the environment causes stress. The way we think, and when we're afraid of things and we think we're not good enough, all of that stuff causes stress. And then our relationships with other people obviously cause stress as well. So stress is going on all the time, but we've got to find a way to actually not allow it to impact our health and our bodies quite so much, and not take so much on.
And so is that what it's about? Like, is it about not taking too much on? Is it about having clarity around, what we want to achieve? Is it about saying no more often than we say yes? What are some of the things that you've seen, patterns that you've seen with working mums that you've dealt with that contributes to this stress?
Well, mindset plays the biggest role in all of it, because when we can change our mindset, we will eat better, we will make better decisions. And one of the things, particularly because I do happen to work with women that run their businesses, and many of them are mums, the things like the guilt and all of that goes on when they're trying to juggle the business, the family, and or everything else, and looking after everybody else, and they're not looking after themselves. So, they miss their meals, maybe they're not moving enough, and they've just got all this other stuff going on in their head. So their heads, your mind never shuts down. And actually you need it to shut down every so often so that we can actually rest, because many of your listeners will know that if your mind is just spinning all of the time, it's totally exhausted. And you kind of sometimes wish you could just step off the side of the world. So, there's lots of stuff going on there. I'm not sure if I answered your question, because I might have gone on a different tangent. But, the biggest thing that I find is that women take so much on, but they stop looking after themselves. And if they're not looking after themselves, they're not being the best version of themselves, which means they're just getting tighter and tighter, and they're actually taking away from the people that they love because they're not being the best version of themselves.
Yeah, totally. I always say, if you don't work, nothing does.
Correct.
And it is so true. And we know that deep down as well. But I feel like with our studio owners, they feel like they have to keep going, otherwise they're going to fall further behind. Do you get that with some of the clients you work with?
Yeah, and I think this is it's a current trend, is that we think that the only way to be successful is to work hard, so we keep working harder and harder and harder.
More and more.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to blame you guys, but that's very masculine energy. And as women, women don't. What we've done is, women have gone into business. There's so many more women in business these days, but what we've done is we've learnt the masculine model. It doesn't necessarily fit very well because we're ignoring our feminine side. Now, men need to, acknowledge their feminine side as well, but they're more masculine dominant. So what I find is with women, they're burning themselves out because they just keep working harder and harder and harder, and they look at other people and say, well, they've done it, I've got to do it, so I've got to work harder. When in fact, if you actually slow down and stop and actually start to internalize and start looking inside for the answer rather than always searching outside for the next new strategy, the next new tool, you'll actually find that the answer's within you, and then that stress starts to come down and you can make clearer decisions and better decisions, and they're more in alignment with what's true to you, because many people, and this isn't just women, but many people are running businesses that are not truly in alignment with themselves. They're running businesses to suit everybody else and the way everybody else says a business needs to be run.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And look, my big belief is you start a business so you can live life on your own terms, right? But so often...
That's not what happens.
So the business ends up running you.
Yes, and that's a big thing, and because I've seen a lot of, well, maybe it's the world that I run in at the moment, but I'm seeing so many women right at this moment who are kind of going, you know, I'm over this. I don't want my business to run me anymore. I didn't go into business to be this tired, this exhausted. And I know so many women are just kind of stepping back and going, well, let's just wait and see what happens. Now, on a numerology point of view, if you're into woo-woo stuff, this is the end of a 9-year. So 9 is completion. And so we're sort of seeing a lot of people are kind of completing things and they're ready to let go of stuff so that they're ready for the next year. So that's maybe why I'm seeing a lot more of it, even though if they don't get that's why it's happening. But I'm seeing so many women going, you know, I've actually got to start looking after me because this isn't fun anymore.
Yeah, and it's not sustainable.
No, it's not.
The other thing is it doesn't need to be that way. For some reason, you know, and it happens when I talk to a lot of studio owners. We've just kind of wrapped up a five city tour with 5 events. And I say, guys, running a dance studio doesn't need to be 24/7 when you can't tuck your kids into bed and you have to work all weekend. Like that doesn't have to be the model that you subscribe to.
That's right. You run with your own rules.
Yeah, I think that's a really big lesson as well. Angela, I want to ask, when we are feeling stressed, right? So let's say a teacher sends us an email saying, this just happened in our association yesterday, so it's kind of fresh in my mind. Get an email from a teacher saying, I'm not coming back next year because I'm opening up my own dance studio and it's right around the corner from yours. Right? And straight away that studio owner would go into a bit of stress.
Yep.
What are some things that we can do to lower that stress quite quickly?
Okay, and this is a big one because our mind is automatically goes into a defense and a fear mode. And I actually have to say, just before this interview, I'm actually going to be really open right now, is this morning I actually had a car accident. I'm okay, it's fine. But I was an absolute mess. I hit another car. There was no one hurt, minimal damage, but I was an absolute mess. And I came home and everything was coming down on me. I'm going, oh, I'm terrible, all this stuff. I actually had to stop and I had to ground. And I do a technique called the lifeline technique, but I just had to come back and say, well, okay, can I change what just happened? The answer is no. I cannot change it. It has happened. It's gone. It's done. Nothing I can do. It doesn't matter how many times I replay it in my head. It's happened. So what is my next step? Is there any point getting so worked up that I can't think? And the answer is still no. So I basically just do some really big, deep breaths and I bring myself to present right now. And then when I'm present because when we breathe, one of the things is when we're stressed, we actually get really, really shallow breathing. And we breathe in the top half of our lungs. Mm-hmm. But if we can actually do some really, really deep breathing down to the bottom of our lungs, some nice slow breathing and a really slow breath out, that actually switches off that stress response. It stops the cortisol, which is our stress hormone, from streaming through our body. So just those big, deep breaths. And also posture plays a big role. And you guys, because you're all dance teachers, should actually do good, really, really good posture. So with your chest up, shoulders back, and the big, deep breaths, that actually lowers down the stress. It gets some oxygen to your brain. And then you can say, okay, what is my next step from here? And look, there's a lot more around. It's around, knowing that you can't change the past. What other people do has really got nothing to do with you. That, just because someone's set up around the corner doesn't mean that's anything to do with you. Maybe that was just the only place they could find premises. So rather than making it all personal, going, okay, well, my clients come to me because they want me. People come to you in a business because of the relationship they have with you. And, just look at the two biggest retail stores in our country, Woolworths and Coles, mm-hmm. They're always in the same shopping mall. And if one goes in, the other one goes in. Yeah. Because they know that's where people hang out. They're not afraid of each other because they do something different. They serve different people. They have different demographics. So, rather than getting into all that big stuff in your head, it is about grounding, and the big deep breaths make massive differences.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I want to talk about overwhelm and the fact that, you know, I feel like a lot of studio owners, I think it's business owners in general, you know, take on too much, right? They have problems saying no, and they love saying yes to everything. And then they end up, you know, a few weeks later going, I wish I didn't say yes to that because I have no time to do that. I mean, what advice would you give, you know, our studio owners listening that maybe feel a bit in overwhelm? I mean, how can they help themselves, you know, get out of that?
Okay, the biggest tool that I have ever used and that I get all my clients to use, particularly if they're in overwhelm, is morning writings. So this comes from
like the Artist Way.
The Artist Way, yes. And writing first thing in the morning. Now, I'll be honest, I don't do it very first thing in the morning. I actually, because I've got kids, I get them off to school and then I actually take some time and I sit down and I write. And I just dump everything onto a piece of paper. And by doing that, you're just clearing your mind out. And, you know, if you did that for 2 or 3 weeks, all of a sudden you get clarity of thought. And then you can come up with different solutions. Because one of the reasons why we get overwhelmed is because we're trying to find a solution. We said yes to something we don't want to say yes to, but we don't know how to get out of it because we can't get in. And all this stuff is just going around in our head all the time. Yeah. But if you could actually just get rid of the noise in the head, you might actually find that there is a solution whereby everybody is happy. But you can't see that while you've got stuff going on in your head. So for overwhelm, the morning writings, I just find, you know, the first time I very heard about it, I said, oh, do I really have to write every single day? And I don't write every single day now, but I do know that if I stop my writing, that I can start to get back into overwhelm. So then I go back to it. Now when I write, I tend to, a lot of creativity comes through for me now when I write. I also meditate as well. So I meditate and then just write whatever comes out. And I get a lot of creativity now. It's not necessarily about clearing my mind because my mind's a lot better than it was. But, yeah, so I find that is one of the best things because when you've got the space in your mind, you can come up with different solutions that you've never, ever thought of before. And then all of a sudden that overwhelm becomes really easy. It's just gone.
Yeah. Look, morning pages is such a great exercise to do.
Yeah.
So often we walk around our day, you know, just holding so much stuff in our heads from the day before, from our night's sleep. It's like kind of purge. You just get everything out on paper and then you're like, cool. It's like a really cheap therapy session.
It is. And I've heard, and I don't know how accurate the stats are, but 60% of the thoughts that we have every day were actually recycled from yesterday, and we have something like 20,000 thoughts a day. So the majority of our thoughts are the same thoughts going over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And they're not getting any better.
Yeah, that's the thing, you know, and that's why we want to train our thoughts as well. Like we want to make sure that we're, you know, whether we're doing, you know, listening to great podcast interviews or we're reading books or listening to audio books, but we want to fill our mind with the positive stuff. We don't want to wake up and switch on the news first thing in the morning.
That's right. And, you know, and it's actually funny. I rarely watch the news, but last night I happened to sit down and I watched the news and I just sat there and then there was story after story after story after story. And I went, geez, is there any good news going on? And I had to get up and walk because everything was just bad news after bad news. And it's like, the thing is with your subconscious mind, when you're seeing that on the television, it actually thinks that it's real. It doesn't know that that's actually just a television and all that's not really happening to you. But that's actually triggering stress responses. So your primitive part of your brain is actually recognizing that and going, dead person, oh, that's a stress. You know, all these different things. So that's actually triggering all these stress responses in your body just by watching the news, which in reality isn't real. It's just a screen. But that's not how our brain is interpreting that. And that's one of the reasons, you know, we've got to be very careful of the things that we are consuming on screens and, you know, even in social media and all of that, because that primitive part of your brain, it's just triggering off all the time when it's seeing some of these things. And it's stressing you when you're sitting there supposedly relaxing.
Yeah, totally. Look, Angela, what are some of the cool tools that we should have in our stress toolkit? Like, are there any apps or any, you know, meditations or anything that you know we should have on hand for those times where we get a bit shaken?
Okay, well, most of the tools that we actually have within us. So, as I said,
we don't need to pull out our phone.
No, You definitely don't pull out your phone. As I said, breathing's one of the best things, breathing and standing up with the posture, particularly if you're about to go into a meeting which you think might be a little bit confrontational or something like that. If you stand there, and there's actually research around this, if you stand in what we call the power pose with your hands on your hips, shoulders back, chest up, big deep breaths for about 2 minutes, it lowers your cortisol level, and then you can go forward and do what you need to do. So that's one thing. It's actually just stopping and breathing, getting out in nature, so grounding yourself. So as much as possible, taking some time out in bare feet to stand on the earth and just reconnect back to earth, because that grounds you. And then look, there's the other, things like, playing with your kids, running. Look, dogs are great. Dogs and playing with animals, because when you just play with an animal, they don't expect anything of you. And you just become present to what's happening. And if you've got really young kids, same thing. As kids get older, it's not exactly the same, because they do have judgments and they do expect things of you. But when you've got really young toddlers, whether or not they're your children or, nieces and nephews or whatever, they just enjoy life. There's no expectation. And when you're in that presence, and just... what you can do if you really want to get a device out is go and get some of those YouTube videos with babies laughing. It's the perfect antidote. But they're the really simple things you can do. And then besides that, it's like making sure that you're feeding your body really great nutrition. Many people are thinking, well, okay, if I eat this health food, and it's actually a processed food, that it's good for the body. The body requires nutrients, not food, but nutrition comes in food, but not all food's got nutrition in it. So feeding the food that comes from nature and putting that into your body, if you're not putting the right nutrients into your body, or you're nutrient deficient, your body goes into a stress response because it thinks it's starving, because it's starving of nutrients. So, eating well, drinking water, making sure you're very well hydrated, and also getting enough sleep and getting good quality sleep. And, they're all the really simple things that don't have to cost anything. They really just take, your time and you being present to it.
Oh, look, Angela, this has been such a great conversation. I want to wrap up and ask you, what's like the one piece of golden information that I didn't ask you today that you'd love to give our studio owners to help them on their journey through stress and out the other side?
Just believe in yourself and know that the answer to any problem is actually within you.
Yeah. I think that's important, because do you feel like sometimes we just we search externally because
yes.
We don't give ourselves the time to just sit with things. Like, we want stuff now. I mean, we are a very in demand.
Yes, totally.
Everything now. I always laugh. I remember, back when I was young, have always loved music. And I remember like hearing a song on the radio, and like I couldn't buy it for like weeks and weeks. And I'd like go to the CD shop like every week, has the CD single come out yet? Has the CD single come out yet? It used to be like $10 or $8 for one song on a CD. But now, I can just and turn on my phone and there it is.
That's right. Yeah, we do live in an immediate society, and yeah, in a way, I think getting back to some of the simpler things, because our bodies really haven't evolved to be in such the world that we live in today, and that's what causes our bodies lots and lots of stress. So yeah, it's a learned thing, because for people to sit down and actually be still, and I know for a long time I struggled with it. I had to learn how to sit still. I had to learn how to sit still long enough to meditate, because I couldn't just sit still because I was so used to moving. And that's one of the things where, particularly mums and business owners, is we think we have to keep working. And if we're not working, well then, something's going to fall apart. But, if you just take half an hour out for yourself and learn to be with yourself and learn to be silent, it's amazing what comes to you, because all of a sudden the creativity opens up, and that's where all your answers are. The answers, even doing things like I'm going to meditate to find the answer, that's actually still external.
Totally, right?
And because people go, oh, well, I'm going to meditate, and then the answer's going to come. And you go, well, how about you just meditate just for the sake of meditating, and if an answer comes, and if it doesn't, it's okay.
Yeah.
So we're looking for all these tools. But the thing is, all the answers, we've already got the answers. They're already inside, because we know intuitively what is right for us on all levels. We do know, but we've just stopped listening.
Yeah, so important. Great advice. Angela, I want to thank you for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Where can our studio owners go to find out more about the work that you do? Because I think they're going to be very interested. Anytime we talk about de-stressing and overcoming overwhelm, they're like all there.
Okay, well, my website is www.angela, A-N-G-E-L-A, Counsel, COUNSEL.com. And if they pop over there, you can actually sign up for a 14-day stress-free challenge where you get videos and different things to do every single day. And there's lots of other information on there. I also have a podcast called Healthy, Wealthy and Wise in Business where we discuss a lot of this type of stuff on there.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, guys. Make sure you go and check out Angela's website, angelacounsel.com. And we look forward to maybe getting you back on the show in the near future.
I'd love to come back and talk more about this stuff. I love talking about it all the time. So thanks for having me, Clint.
Thanks so much, Angela, and take care. Hey, it's Clint, and I hope you really enjoyed that episode from our Studio Success Secrets Week. Now, if you didn't catch it at the beginning, I want to make sure that you know that for the month of January, we're running January Jumpstart, where we're giving you free access to a number of different trainings, worksheets, templates, video trainings, webinars to help you grow your studio in 2017. Now, to get access to all of these trainings, I want you to text the number 44222 with the word Jumpstart 17. That's the number 17. So 44222 with the word Jumpstart 17 to get access to our January Jumpstart group. Now, if you're in Australia, New Zealand, or the UK, what I want you to do is go to dancestudioownersassociation.com/jumpstart, and you can get access as well to all of our trainings that we're having inside our members area for January Jumpstart. Now, we've already got hundreds of dance studio owners from around the world that are joining us in this training, and I hope to see you there. So don't delay, jump on in, and let's make 2017 together your best year in business. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us today. For all the resource links from the show and to receive access to our free dance studio growth training, make sure you visit transformmydancestudio.com.